Today we're delighted to welcome Paolo Bortolameolli, who will be conducting the Phoenix Symphony from October 18th through 20th. Paolo, we're thrilled that this will be your debut with the Phoenix Symphony, leading an amazing program that includes Stravinsky's Firebird Suite, Debussy's Afternoon of a Faun, and Contact by Kevin Putz. Before we get into the program, I know our audience would love to learn more about you, but really be interested to hear, how did you get interested in music, and how did your journey lead you to become a conductor?
The journey started very, very little. In one hand, from my mom's side, my grandfather, he went to the conservatory when he was really little. He studied piano and composition, even though he ended up being a very good lawyer. But every night when he came from work, my first memories were to be, underneath the piano. It was kind of like my favorite place to be. So my grandfather arrived late at night and started to play Chopin and play, Beethoven, and I was there in the piano. And from my dad's side, he was a music lover, and he took me when I was 7 years old to the main theater here in Santiago to listen to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and that for me was life-changing experience, because there is this moment in the Fifth Symphony, when we go from the third movement to the fourth movement, which is a musical building up, which lands on this Golden Gate C major, the promised C major that we were waiting for from the very beginning of the symphony. And that building up moment, which is kind of like 40 seconds, it moved me so deeply that I started to cry. My dad held my hand, and then he took me to say hi to the conductor. And when the conductor saw my tears, he was really moved as well. And he hugged me and he told me, well, this is exactly why we do what we do. And that kind of like, I literally say it changed my life, because the next day I got obsessed with this, character, the conductor. Who is this guy who's waving, hands and shaping the sound of music? And at the same point, at the same time, I find it so lucky, to be surrounded by that music.
That's remarkable. So you knew even then that you wanted to be a conductor. You wanted to stand on the podium and lead the orchestra. You weren't thinking about playing in the orchestra, but even then, being a conductor at the age of 7. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of like, I don't know, like an epiphany at 7 years old. Something weird, I would say, because, it's not something that common, that when you are 7 years old, it's kind of like, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do. But it was my path.
That's just remarkable. Now, you've conducted orchestras around the world, and I know many orchestras in your native Chile. And I imagine that there's been many debuts over the years, and this will be your debut with our orchestra. Can you talk a little bit about what is it like to meet and work with an orchestra for the very first time?
I like it, actually. I do enjoy a lot what I call kind of like the first date with an orchestra. It has this feeling of adrenaline, like you are trying to communicate through music, but at the same time you feel that you have to, show your more beautiful feathers, and at the same time you are trying to get the vibe of this group that you yet don't know. But at the same time, it's through music, this universal language, that you connect so easily. Not long ago, I was, collaborating with a soloist, a pianist. We didn't know each other, and we had this brief conversation before, before the orchestra meeting. When you kind of like set up tempos and stuff like that, like really subtle, and it was kind of like a really professional, meeting. But then after the reading with the orchestra, we already felt that we kind of like knew each other better. And we started to talk about this, like how come all these things that are part of our relationship, like intimacy, humor, dialogue, secrets, all these things actually happen through music. So you kind of like become closer to people in half an hour. And that, I think, it's beautiful.
We are so looking forward to having you here, and it's a really exciting program. Two pieces our audiences already know and love: Stravinsky's Firebird Suite, Debussy's Afternoon of a Faun, and one maybe perhaps not everyone knows, Contact by Kevin Putz. Can you talk a little bit about, are there some things that you're particularly excited about with this program that you'll be leading later this month?
I mean, I would say all the pieces are fantastic. I mean, Contact, I'll start with that one. I already worked with these guys, with Time for Three. So I know them. We did this piece. Kevin, it was also there when we did it for the first time. So I got to understand what the piece is all about, like this kind of like, well, it was made for them, and this is a particular group because it's two violinists and one contrabass, which is not such a common collection of players. At the same time, they have this thing that I think it's fantastic to add, which is they also like to sing a cappella. So it is a piece that is, basically made to feature them in their best way, how talented they are as players, but also how much are they connected to new ways to express ideas, how to connect with new audiences. It's a contemporary piece, but it's not a difficult piece. It speaks to you directly. It's kind of like a lot of different sound worlds. It has a lot of colors, but it also has this powerful energy. So it's a piece that I am absolutely sure people will enjoy. And with the other one, actually, we're telling a story because Debussy's Faun, it's a piece that in music history, you could say it's one of those pivotal moments of how things were starting to change. We usually, when we go to conservatory, we learned that, for instance, Wagner's Tristan und Isolde is kind of like the moment when composers started departing from the harmony that we used to know, right? And it started to become this expansive harmony that eventually became the contemporary music, which is much more dissonant. But the interesting thing is that Faun, Prelude, takes a lot of that kind of like ambiguities of harmonies. Actually, it even starts with the same Tristan chord. That's fascinating. But it starts to make you understand that there are several ways to go to the future, open different gates. And Debussy's open a gate which is not so, not so intellectual in the way he's thinking about harmony or form, but actually more about senses, about the smells of the chords, and how he's making so many different textures. And Debussy's Prelude, it's about this creature, this faun, that after taking a nap, he's not so aware about a dream he had, about these girls that he saw, and all the music is about that. It's kind of like not a clear music, but it's actually something that it's inviting you to be part of the guessing, and that I think it's fantastic. And then, well, Stravinsky, obviously for all of us, is one of the most important composers of the 20th century. We usually talk about the Rite of Spring as kind of like, the big piece. But before the Rite of Spring, it came Petrushka, and before Petrushka, the Firebird. And the Firebird is the perfect piece to understand how a composer is taking on his back everything that he learned from the past, from tradition, and how he is experimenting new ways. So the Firebird is an incredibly expressive, beautiful, beautiful music, but at the same time, it has this ways that he's developing, like the strength of the rhythm, the symmetry of accents, and the most imaginative and colorful orchestration ever.
This sometimes members of our audience who may not attend concerts so often will tell me they're surprised at the breadth that there is in classical music. And the program that you've developed is one of particular breadth and variety. And this evening is going to be very, very special. And in addition to the pieces you just talked about, there's also going to be a mystery piece that you've chosen. And although I think we want that piece to remain a mystery until October 18th, I wonder if you want to give us any hints about that work and why you've chosen it's a short mystery piece that we'll be playing during the evening as well.
First of all, I loved the idea of having a mystery piece in the repertoire as a way to present to the audience, because we have these core pieces, but at the same time also these guessing, from the pieces that we chose. The only thing that I could say about this piece, it's that it fits very, very well in the narrative of this idea of discovering new paths. I would say the whole program, including Contact, is about that. It's about changes, about risks, and about looking forward. And the mystery piece fits 100% in that concept.
Oh, that's wonderful. One of the things that's very important to us is education and providing opportunities for young people to become acquainted with great music. And I know there are going to be young people at our performances when you're on the podium, hearing an orchestra for the very first time and hearing your story, your experience when you were 7. It caused me to ask this question. Do you have any advice for those young people who might be hearing an orchestra for the first time with you on the podium, what to listen for, or any other thoughts that we could share with them to help encourage them to attend with their mom and dad?
My advice comes from what took my imagination away. First of all, is to look at the orchestra. I think it's one of the most beautiful experiences, like to look at this large group of human beings that they're so committed to what they're doing, and they're so moving in coherence with the music, and there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of focusing on what they're doing. That, I think, is first kind of like the first impression you get when you go and attend to a symphonic classical program, because you are seeing something that is going on in that moment. It's not a recording, it's not a screen, it's real. There is 100 or 80 person, there's a lot of people playing together. I think that it's just fascinating. And second is the music itself. One of the most beautiful things about this program is that even if you don't understand or if you don't know about what is all the pieces about, the music is telling you a story, based or built on contrasts, on dynamics, on a vast range of different emotions. It's, in Contact, you will have these sound landscapes, but in Faun, you will have tenderness, but also urgency and as I said, kind of like perfumes of sound. And in the Stravinsky, well, you literally have a lot of contrast. I mean, obviously, we have this mysterious beginning, then we have this incredibly powerful moment of the infernal dance that it takes your breath away, because it's so powerful with the rhythm and the nature, almost kind of like a film score nature of the music. And then the ending, which is also this kind of like building up of beauty.
Paolo, thank you so much for our conversation today. It's been wonderful to talk with you. We are so looking forward to your debut leading the Phoenix Symphony on October 18th, 19th, and 20th. Any concluding words you'd like to share with those who are listening to us today?
Well, I'm really looking forward to get to work with the orchestra, to know the city. It's my first time, and to get to know, obviously, the audience. So nothing, just see you pretty soon.
So look forward to it, and thank you again, Paolo.